Hello, I'm G. Marshall Johnson. Mob memorabilia is hard to come by and can be quite expensive. After all, most mobsters don't walk the red carpet and sign autographs. Therefore, items which bear their signatures are few and far between. But bloodlettersandbadmen.com has been able to get our hands on numerous items, like this signed canceled check from Joseph Bonanno. As a way of saying thank you to those who have watched, commented, and subscribe to our YouTube channel, we are giving away this piece of mob history from our collection. Think about it. This check was once held in the hands of the man who was perhaps the most powerful Mafia godfather in history. Joseph Bonanno was born January 18, 1905, and died on May 11, 2002. After the Castellamarese War and the death of his own godfather Salvatore Maranzano, he became a founding member of Charles Lucky Luciano's crime commission and the boss of the family which still bears his name today, the Bonanno family. This signed check is drawn on his personal account and is dated April 25, 2000. It was made out to Truly Nolan, an exterminator, which is kind of ironic if you think about it. Joseph Bonanno's signature is PSA DNA certified. To enter this giveaway, go to www.bloodlettersandbadmen.com and click on the tab across the top marked giveaway. Enter a valid email address and you will be sent a verification. This verification email will be sent to the address you provided. Before you are entered for the drawing, you must click the link to verify your email address. Please read the contest rules and good luck. Angelo Bruno earned the nickname the Docile Don. Albert Anastasia was frequently referred to as the Mad Don. Vito Genovese, the Ruthless Don. But Tommaso Tommy Gagliano could have been known as the Absent Don. We know very little about this man or his criminal activities. There isn't even a biographical entry for him in J. Robert Nash's book, Bloodletters and Bad Men, or his voluminous work titled The World Encyclopedia of Organized Crime. The same goes for Carl Sifakis's book, The Mafia Encyclopedia. They might make mention of this absent gangster in connection with someone else, but for the most part, the pages are silent. Even the criminal dossier compiled by the United States Treasury Department Bureau of Narcotics doesn't mention him in a single entry. And Selwyn Robb's book, The Five Families, only has 7 vague references. In fact, the picture you are seeing now may not even be Tommy Gagliano. And if this isn't enough to shroud this man in mystery, consider that half of the historians and crime writers can't even seem to agree on his first name. Some have his Italian birth name as Gaetano, and others Tommaso. What is known is Gagliano was born in Corleone, Sicily on May 17, 1884. His date of immigration appears to have been sometime in 1905 when he would have been 21 years old. According to most accounts, he settled in East Harlem, where he gained employment in a feed store. Times were tough, and New York was flooded with immigrants looking for the famed streets of gold. But for most, it was fool's gold. Trying to survive and make ends meet, it appears Gagliano, whose hometown was a hotbed of mafia activity, eventually took up with the Morello crime family. American Mafia history writes, at some point, Gagliano moved his interest to the Bronx. He set himself up with his brother-in-law in the lathing and hoisting business, at least as a front, and began working for the family headed by the Bronx-based gangster Gaetano Reina. It was the late 1920s and the dawn of what has been dubbed as the Castellamarese War. Gagliano's boss, Tommy Reina, first sided with Mazzaria. But as Joe the boss demanded more and more money from his underlings, including Reina, the tide turned as numerous mobsters switched their allegiances to his rival, Salvatore Maranzano. When Joe the boss heard of this treachery, he sent one of his top gunners to whack Reina. The gunman was alleged to be Vito Genovese. With Rina out of the way, Masseria installed Joseph Pinzolo as head of the family. This didn't sit well with Reina's men, who had the unsuspecting Pinzola gunned down within a year. Masseria then installed Tommy Gagliano to head up the Reina family. In 1931, Joe the Boss was finally defeated when he was shot by 4 men as he ate lunch at one of his favorite restaurants. And a few months later, Maranzano was to meet the same fate. Before his death, Maranzano divvied up New York into 5 ruling families. At the head of each of these families, a boss was appointed. Maranzano at the head of his own family, now known as the Bonanno family. Joseph Profaci, now the Colombo family. Luciano, now the Genovese family. Vincent Mangano, now the Gambino family. And Tommy Gagliano, which would eventually become known as the Lucchese family. According to American Mafia history, Luciano took the boss of bosses position, but he never used it to seize power in the way Maranzano had. Instead, the bosses, including Gagliano, were left to their own devices. Gagliano made his longtime friend, Tommy Lucchese, his underboss, and proceeded to run his organization from the shadows. According to Selwyn Robb, many younger mafiosi were sent to the secretive Gagliano family for training. Most notably was the young and upcoming mob boss of Florida, Santo Trafficante. Gagliano steered the family through a period of high tension between the 5 families. In 1936, Luciano was sent to prison, and then in 1946, deported to Italy. With Luciano's absence, power on the commission was held by an alliance of bosses, such as Vincent Mangano, Joe Bonanno, Stefano Magandino, and Joseph Profaci. Gagliano knew the times were treacherous and that he had to be very careful in the face of these ever-changing alliances. He therefore kept a low profile while furthering the business interest of his family. Unverified reports state that during the war years of 1941 to 1945, he was involved in gasoline rationing, meat, and black market sugar. So secretive was Gagliano that he isn't even mentioned as being present for the 1946 Havana meeting called by Lucky Luciano and Meyer Lansky, though his underboss, Thomas Lucchese, did attend. Ironically, this is where the story ends. Gagliano kept such a low profile that little information is known about the man who sat on the most powerful crime commission in the world. In fact, he was such a shadowy figure that no one knows for certain when he died. Reports vary that it was 1953, but others claim it was 1951. Under subpoena, Thomas Lucchese gave the exact date before a Senate hearing committee, saying it was February 16, 1951, but there is no documentation to support this date. Some say he retired in 1951, handing control of the family to Lucchese, and then died 2 years later of natural causes. Even the mausoleum at the Woodlawn Cemetery in the Bronx, which bears the inscription T. Gagliano, bears no dates. American Mafia history perhaps sums it up best. In any event, Lucchese took over the Gagliano family and put his permanent stamp on it. Gagliano is remembered today, when he is remembered at all, as a faceless boss from the early years, and that may be his greatest achievement.